Today, Wilbur Ross, in testimony before the Senate, seemed to suggest or downplay the whole notion of a security threat as it pertains to Canada, and said the tariffs were more linked to trying to stop the glut of Chinese steel entering markets like Canada to go to the U.S. Have you been given assurances by the U.S. that if you can prove Canada is taking these steps, that they would repeal these 232 tariffs?
We have not. I was glad. I read very briefly just before coming here reports of those remarks from Secretary Ross, and I will look forward to reading in more detail a transcript of that committee appearance. From what I saw, I welcome Secretary Ross's remarks. I was pleased to see, according to reports, that Secretary Ross acknowledged that Canadian steel does not pose a security threat to the United States. We think that is self-evident, and that is what we have been saying from the beginning, and it's very good to hear that from Secretary Ross. I was also pleased to read in the reports of his remarks an acknowledgement from Secretary Ross that the United States does have a surplus in trade in steel with Canada. That's another point that we've been making, and it was great to hear it from him. And Secretary Ross is someone with whom I have a good relationship. We've spoken about Section 232, so good to hear all of those comments from him. On your safeguard question, Canada has put in place well in advance of the Section 232 decision by the United States, strengthened extensive safeguard measures. And I'd like to point out, we have our own national interest to avoid dumping of steel and aluminum in the Canadian market.